Okay, live. Yes, I guess I am live now. Today's topic I'm doing because before I start on my conjunction through houses of Moon and Saturn, I thought I give a brief explanation of this conjunction. And I think from here on out, whenever I start a new conjunction through houses, okay, I will talk briefly. So this way, I'm not explaining in each house video what they're going to be doing, so I can just explain things. So as you know, Moon and Saturn conjunction is known as Visha Yoga. Okay, and apparently when you read anywhere online, it is most of the time is all the melancholy negative things that you hear. Okay, but the thing is, there's a multi-dimension to this particular conjunction. Okay, do you actually know there are 12 different types of Visha Yoga? So if you know things about deeper, astrological concepts, you will understand it's not just one type of Visha Yoga of Moon and Saturn. But see, the first thing that you will think of when it comes to Moon, okay, naturally you think of emotions. But Moon is your birth. It's the birth graha. It is the start of your karmas. It is the reason why you're here. This is why Janma Nakshatra is given so much importance. Because Moon represents what? Moon represents the womb, mother's womb. You came out of the mother's womb. So Moon has all the things that are setting everything clockwise, alarm clockwise. Now, on the other hand, Saturn, the main job of Saturn is karma. It's the accumulated karmas that are to be executed by you. Not because of just one lifetime, but perhaps because of past 80 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes. It is something that you have done consistently, which is why that accumulated karma is here. From life to life, you will see when people take rebirths and people who have, recollection of their past, you will see that, oh, I was this in past life and here I am now doing this, right? Some yogi takes a rebirth and suddenly they'll start continuing the process that they were doing. So Saturn shows that see, Jupiter represents expansion. Jupiter says, when you're with me, I'm going to expand you. I'm going to make you fat. I'm going to give space in you. See, when Jupiter expands you like a balloon, there's like a lot of space. Akash. Saturn says, I'm linear. Saturn's not expanding. Saturn's neither contracting. Saturn says, I'm going on this straight line, flat line. You want to jump up, you want to jump down, that's up to you. But I'm going to take you into this linear line. And this is why Saturn, feels like, wow, is there anything happy about Saturn? Because Saturn says, I'm work. I'm here. I am just executing the karmas. That's it. And right here becomes your end. And now I'll see you in next birth, and I'm going to continue on with this journey. But to understand why deeper, first of all, why is Visha Yoga given its meaning? Okay. Because Visha Yoga simply says that a person will deal with all kinds of emotional hurdles in life. They're going to deal with a lot of setbacks in life. But see, those setbacks are simply emotional. Because if one person waited 10 years for a promotion, okay, They're happy. They're celebrating. They're like, well, I worked and I finally got a promotion after 10 years. When you have this Visha yoga, what happens is, why am I not getting this promotion this year? Why am I not getting this promotion this year? Or this 6th month of this year? And there's these continuous setbacks within the mind because you constantly set a particular goal or desire that Saturn says, I'm linear, I'm just going. I'm not going to take you up or down. You just perform your karmas and duty. That's all you have to do. You're not here to feel ecstatic, feel happy, feel sad with me. You're here to simply go on a flat line. So this is the most basic of concept. But why is it that it's given this yoga? This is where you you have to just look at the basic concept. Moon, where is moon the most intense? The most intense. Let's not use the word debilitation. Where is the moon most intense? In Scorpio. This is where mind becomes intense about discovery, research, investigation. Okay. So why is mind debilitated? Because it is first of all, it's only debilitated around the 3rd degree of Scorpio, which is Vishaka. Okay. And that's a whole another ball game of that. But moon in Scorpio gets so immersed into things that is no longer able to deal with other duties that are everywhere else. It's in the pit and it's working. It's like a yogi in Shamshan doing its sadhana. While that same yogi has responsibility of going to their accounting office, taking care of the bills, helping the kids with their education, helping the spouse with the household chores. But no, the yogi is now in the Samshan. They're doing intense sadhana. This is why that intensity of the moon is known as that debilitated point. But you also have to understand, if moon is intensified in Scorpio, debilitated in Scorpio, who's the karka of the 8th house? Because Scorpio is the original 8th house. It is Saturn. Saturn is the significator of 6th, 8th, and 12th house, especially if you look at the Nadi astrology. Saturn is also significator of the 6th, diseases. While Mars will rule accidents, the 6th house. Fights, wars, competition, that's Mars. Cuts, that's Mars. Debts, that's Mars. But there's also something called karmic debt. Diseases, that's why it's Saturn. So when moon is in the 8th, from the original point of view, it's in the 8th in Scorpio and its karka is Saturn. The foundation becomes Saturn. This is why it has been given this yoga. Now, moon is about the decoding of the karma. Moon now unveils things out of its womb. And Saturn says, my job is to help you execute those karma. This is why moon Saturn people, it's kind of like the Mooladhara chakra is actually far more open than other chakras versus other people. Mooladhara has all the dirt, all the secreted dirt of your life, and it needs to be dissolved. So it's like it's opened up, that Mooladhara. If it was like this in everybody's chart, with moon Saturn, it becomes this. It's like, you're going to have to deal with this now. And so what is that then? So then you also understand moon Saturn. Okay, well, Saturn is the karka of the 8th. Moon is in the 8th, it becomes a Vishaga, but also moon is the 4th lord, original 4th lord with Cancer, which is, first of all, represents your peace, your comfort, your place of rest. 4th house is also the seat of power. Political seat of power is the fourth house because you're ruling over the masses of people within your own community. Then you also see the fact that moon has been given the significance of public life. Moon has been given the significance of public life. It represents fame along with sun because these are the two very close body to us that we see day in and day out. With moon at least 24 days out of 27 days or 30 days. We see it. We know about it. Saturn, actual 10th lord of the execution of karmas. 11th lord, karmas towards society. Aquarius, it is large gathering. So now when you have moon and Saturn together, okay, one of the other things besides this Visha yoga is public life. One has to give themselves into public life. And only when you go towards a public life, service, Saturn is service, right? It is the significator of the sixth house of service. So it shows that moon and Saturn can actually bring somebody fame and power. But that fame and power has to be used towards servicing the people. And we'll get into the fact with even if you have this and you're not in public service, we'll get into that. But the thing is, here your comfort and peace of mind is now with the 10th lord karma. So when you are feeling, that disappointment, that sadness, you simply have to change the fact that I have to do something for society. If you don't do something for society, if you're not out there giving yourself in pretty much free service to a certain extent, you are going to constantly feel that melancholy. You're going to constantly feel that depression, that sadness within you. So in a way, this is a remedy for moon and Saturn. Whatever you do in life, what is public service? Simple. You don't have to go out there and give or open up some nonprofit organization or NGO. What public service is? Let's say you're an accountant with moon Saturn. The public service becomes that at least one day out of the month, 2 days, let's say I take one weekend out of the month, give free accounting advice to people who cannot afford accountant. Those who cannot afford accountants and they need help, you say, you come to me and I'll help you. For example, if somebody's an astrologer with moon and Saturn, fine, you should charge. You should do that exchange of energy, make your money as an astrologer, but you must give free readings to people. You must give free advice to people. Only when you do that, you will see whatever hurdles come in, they feel like a flat line. Because you're actually now becoming aware of that moon Saturn together. Then the other thing you will also see, because moon, which represents the mind, the emotional turmoil that we have, even somebody without Saturn moon together deals with constant change, that monkey jumping from one place to another, right? It's a constant churning. What Saturn does is Saturn represents polluted waters. So if moon is water, Saturn pollutes it, contaminates it. So what happens is, even if your mind is going from one place to another, to another, to another, you have this idea, you have that idea, you wish you could marry that person, you wish you could be like this movie star, and maybe I should go try it. What Saturn does, whenever a thought comes in to achieve something, Saturn puts you into reality. He says, look, the moment you feel depressed about something in your mind, it should not be there in your mind. You are constantly, after 6 months of breaking up with your ex, you're at your work and you're still thinking that at this weekend, I wish I could have gone with him and gone to this concert with him. We used to love this concert. And suddenly you just get that rush of emotions and you feel down. Saturn's not going to save you from that. Saturn's not going to be like, oh, let me nurture you here. Saturn's like, if this is making you feel that up and down, well, simply go in a linear path. Simply go in a linear path. Because whatever thoughts that is in there in your mind, it is my pollution within your mind. And I'm going to give you this pain because this is what is being excreted from the Muladhara chakra. You're supposed to feel that. Now, how can you take this particular emotion and then turn it positive? Is once you realize the concept and the science of karma, that the more you feel a certain pain with this conjunction, meaning something is coming out and washing away through your mind. You feel you don't have the money. Yes, feel it. You feel that. Sit with that. Just feel that in the mind that, yes, I don't have the money and I cannot afford this house that I want, or this house that my uncle has, or this house that my brother just bought. I can afford that. You sit with that feeling. By knowing that having this feeling within me that is creating this pain, I'm releasing this pain. Okay. This is how this executes. Now, to get rid of that pain, getting rid of that feeling, right, of the X, whatever work you are doing, not only you give free service to that. Moon and Saturn conjunction people, because I'm telling you, this is the reason why I'm giving this special video on it before I go into go through houses, is because the most people that I have seen with their issues and problems and reading have had the connection of Moon and Saturn. They've had the connection of Moon and Saturn, but also I have seen people who are great life coach, business coach, motivational coaches comes through Moon and Saturn. Why is it that you're going to be a motivational coach or life coach? What makes you so great at me paying you money so you can coach me about life? The reason is that person has gone through the pain that you couldn't imagine. That person has come out from the pits of this combination of Moon and Saturn to show you what life is actually is about. It's about progression of karma and paying it forward. So, for example, if you are feeling that pain, you need to be out there helping somebody from their pain of their failed marriage or failed relationship. The moment you do that, suddenly you see this line, right? This is the Saturn line. And here now, here's your emotions down here. When you got a promotion, it's up here. When you got sick, it's down here. So when you give that free advice, that now aligns here with Saturn and it just goes. There's nothing that Saturn's going to be like, well, you just gave somebody a great advice to come out of their, you know, relationship hole. Let me reward you. No, the reward of this conjunction of Moon and Saturn is that you feel peace. That's the reward. Because there is a person who's has that dream spouse, the best looking spouse, the best money, and yet they're not happy. Life has given them what they want. They're not happy. And yet then you see somebody who lives a simple life, has a government job, living simply, eating simple food, saving a little bit of money, doing their penance and their sadhana. When up and downs comes, their up and down are not like this. Their up and down is not like this as everybody else's. Their up and down is like this. It's just like that. It goes like that. See, this is how that normal person's up and down will be. Versus yours and mine, we go like this. Because we have so much expectation out of the unrealistic pattern that doesn't exist in our code. That creates the biggest problem here. But you will see, it's not like you give advice to someone, suddenly your ex comes back, or you find someone. No, not unless the transit, the dasha says someone's going to come in, they're going to come in. So if you have to suffer for 3 years, well, I'm sorry, you suffer for 3 years. But you end that suffering by simply giving service. Like, for example, you just go with Moon Saturn. On one day, just go to a temple and say, you know, can I clean these murtis that you have here? How do you clean this? Give me the cloth and the whatever that you use, and let me sweep the floor. And especially if you do that on Saturday, on the day of Saturn, with this Moon Saturn, when you do that, when you come out, you will see these emotions of losing your loved one, okay, down here, and the negative side will start to become like that. So this is the first bout of this Saturn Moon conjunction. Then when it comes to the practical side, see, Moon is the significator of wealth. Venus represents money, right? The cash money. Moon is the karka of wealth. Wealth could be in many ways. Some people you will see who are multimillionaires, they will probably have $30,000 or $40,000 in the bank sitting. That's it. Most of their wealth is in real estate, investments, whether it's businesses, whether it's stock market, whether it's property. That's where their investments are. It's wealth. Okay. So Moon is wealth. Number one. Moon is also sustenance. Moon is also sustenance. It's food. Because your mother is the first person to give you food. Your first anna goes into the body through the mother. For most, yes, there are those who are abandoned right at birth. But food is the thing that sustains you. Moon is exalted in the second house of wealth and food and family. Okay, wealth, food, and family. Saturn. And also, what is Moon? Moon is the quickest moving planet, quickest moving graha. So it represents quick travels. Moon and Mercury both represents travels. Okay. Then you have Saturn, the planet of accumulated karmas, which includes your work. It is your duty towards something. It's your commitment towards something, because Saturn is exalted in the seventh house of commitments and contracts. It's a simple theme. Saturn says, When you're bound to this thing, you're going to be bound to it. This is why Saturn represents chronic diseases. Because he says you have a contract with this. I'm sorry, I can't relieve you of this until the contract is up. And this contract may be lifelong. Some people deal with chronic health issues lifelong. Saturn is service. Saturn is also sacrificing. Okay, Saturn is sacrificing something because it's debilitated in the first house, Aries, which is you and your body. When you work, what is it that you're doing? You're sacrificing your energy towards something. So you will see when Moon and Saturn are together, okay? And also remember, Moon also represents liquids, right? Medicines, liquids. So when Moon and Saturn comes together, you will see, first of all, this person will have to do a lot of traveling related to their work. Their true karmas gets executed only when they work. And I'll tell you what will bring joy and what will feel like forced work. Moon also, like I said, represents wealth. I have seen charts of Moon Saturn. So you see, this is the opposite of Visha Yoga. Moon and Saturn can give tremendous wealth power. The power to generate wealth. Because now you're looking at planet of second and seventh house, highest point. Saturn is exalted in the seventh house of business. Moon is exalted in the second house of wealth and money. These people can do excellent in business. They have the ability to work rigorously without, again, because their entire mindset is towards work. If they're, Moon Saturn person, unless of course Jupiter is involved with them, especially let's say in the third house or fourth house, then they can become a little bit lethargic. But if we're just talking about Moon and Saturn, this person is going to be a workaholic. Once you put them to work, that's it. Now the mind is in its element. You got to understand, Moon, Saturn, whenever there's these 12 connections, that creates this Visha Yoga. Moon and Saturn, when they're working, they're in their element. And especially when that work is about connecting and giving service. Something that other people felt like they couldn't get it without having some money. And yet here you are giving it. This is where now this person does the best. Now, how do you create that wealth from this particular conjunction? Whatever you do, again, whatever you do, you give free service. The moment you give free service, you will have more people coming in. Because now you're telling Saturn that, okay, I'm ready to take on this karma of Visha Yoga, giving my mind and my karmas to service towards the karmas. Because like I said, Moon is the reason behind the accumulated execution of karmas. It's actually just like Saturn. Moon and Saturn are very much the same planets. One is accumulated karmas, right? Saturn is accumulated karmas. Moon is the womb that is holding all the karmas within from previous life and all the lives that is now have to be executed through dasha system. This is why we have that dasha through the moon. So that becomes the first thing. Then you will also see, because moon represents food, whomever this person is, they will only like to eat, especially when they're in a family environment. They will only love to eat when everybody else has eaten. When they eat first, they cannot digest the food. They will have issues with the stomach. They will have even, let's say, for example, constipation. Until Everybody in their life has eaten, and then when they eat last, this is where they can gain the most benefit of that food and nutrition. Because again, please remember, free service, giving food to others. When you do work, Moon Saturn people, you should never show up late to work. You should rather show up 5 minutes early to your office. Because yes, Saturn is a planet of delay. See, there's always the good and the bad and the ugly with all the planets. The good, bad, and the ugly. Remember these three things: good, bad, and the ugly with all three planets. When you go late to work with Moon and Saturn conjunction, your work will also be delayed that entire day. You will not be able to finish things on time. You go on time, before time to do your work, you will see how you execute your work. This is why it is so important to set a schedule in your life when you do anything. When you do anything, let's say, for example, you're in IT, but yet at the same time, you are wanting to learn astrology and be an astrologer. Until you set a time that at every day at 7 p.m., I'm going to watch my lessons or read my books. Only then you can execute that plan to become the astrologer. Because remember, Saturn was born in Revati Nakshatra. Revati is time. Saturn is also time, Kal. So it has a very strong emphasis related to doing timely things. And both, again, like I told you, they're both very similar, Moon and Saturn. Saturn is a planet of delay. It goes really slow. Moon waxes and wanes. So Moon is never on time and the way it is. It is waxing, it is waning. The body shrinks, the body opens up. Saturn goes slow. But Saturn is at the same time commitment and being on time. You see these multiplicity in these two planets. And of course, you will also see Moon is food. These people, if they were to, like you will see, I haven't seen all, but you will see with Moon Saturn conjunction. And again, I told you there are 12 different types of Visha yoga of Moon Saturn. But you will see them being in service of food, hospitality, hotel, resorts, nursing homes, nurses. Right? Moon is chemicals, medicine. It's one of the things in Germany. Moon represents medicine. So these people can work with chemicals or medicine in their life. Such people would make great painters. What is paint? Paint is chemical. If let's say, I know I'm going to go later on with the houses, Moon's Saturn in the third house can actually make a great painter and writer. Now, what requires, again, Moon, the Karka of writing. Those who have studied Jaimini, Moon is the number one significator of writing. More than even Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury, Moon is the first. You will see from your Karakamsha Lagna, when Moon is in the fifth house or aspects the ascendant, a person is going to write at one point in their life, especially when the Charadasha of Moon, the sign of the Moon becomes active, or where Moon aspects. So even if a person is not a lifelong author, okay, like let's say Stephen King, well, at least for those 3 years, they're going to love writing something. And because of Moon Saturn, they will ability to write long novels, including sequels, trilogies. Because when thought process is on writing, it's no longer about this one moment. It's about that entire length of that karma. This is why Saturn takes 30 years to go around the zodiac. So when Moon and Saturn are together as a writer, number one, they have the ability to see far away where the story starts and where story ends. And story just doesn't end here like Mercury would be. Less than a year it ends. No, it's 30 years, right? So now use that same analysis in writing. Well, it's going to take long way to finish this particular story. And you will also see some of the best actors. Actors are what? Public figures. Actors, directors, writers will have connection with Saturn Moon because of the sadness of their life is why they're able to write such brilliant stories and direct such brilliant movies. Because you got to understand, until you struggle in life to become, let's say, a millionaire, you will not love that essence of being a millionaire. When you know you came from this small little home in India, for you to now become or worth $3.2 billion and CEO of this big tech company, it will not be the same feeling if your father had $50 billion and gave you $8 billion as inheritance. Well, I was living this life anyway. I had the chauffeurs, I had all the people taking care of me, and here I have 8 billion. Well, it's far less. So now I'm sad. So you will see that sadness come in even with Moon Saturn with a billionaire. How come you only gave me 8 billion? I should get 30 billion. Oh man, my life is over. But what Moon Saturn will do is when the pain is caused, it is a blessing. Please understand, Moon Saturn pain is a blessing because the pain is coming so you can use that pain to make money. Use that pain to make money. That's what people then don't get. Now, yes, in order to make that money, you have to go through that karmic coded cycle of the planet that'll bring you that. But you will see, especially, you know, but Moon Saturn, especially Saturn Dasha, will be the most potent period in terms of executing things creatively. Because Saturn's going to put the mind to work. Saturn's like, okay, you're with me, I'm going to put you to work. Now use your mind, use your consciousness. So, this is why anything which is dwelled through your thinking and mind, which is again, it's not of you. All the thoughts you get are simply accumulated from all the planets in your chart, and every dasha, paryantra dasha, sukshma dasha, prana dasha, whenever they're operating, they're executing certain thoughts. So maybe for, let's say, 2 weeks, you're just having a lot of intense sexual thoughts. You want to have that girlfriend, boyfriend. You're trying to please your spouse. Or for at least, let's say, 3-4 days of prana dasha, you're doing nothing but thinking about food. I want to go to my favorite restaurant. I want to go to my favorite restaurant. Oh, look at this food. Look at that food. It's the thoughts that are coming in are being executed by these planets and all these dasha that are operating. No thought is of your own. So when Saturn and Moon are together and Saturn period will start, Saturn is like, use your mind now to put yourself to work. So now whatever thoughts comes in Saturn Moon, they should be used to create something. This is where a person gets something. Yes, other dasha will do it as well. If they're in certain angle from Sun and Moon and Saturn and Moon. Okay. Then let's look at when you're forced to do something and when you naturally do something. How can you understand that concept? Well, if Moon has lower degree than Saturn, your Saturn is at, actually, let me see here, because I'm using the most important example in my life. Moon at, okay, what is it, 17.6? Yeah, 17.6 degrees. Saturn is at 8 degrees. Wait, no. Let me see. Wrong chart. Uh, okay. So let's say Moon is at around 17 degrees. Saturn is around 12 degrees. Okay. Okay. No. I'm sorry. Moon is at 8 degrees. Saturn is at 17 degrees. In any sign, any place. This person will automatically be like, Mike, I need to do some work where I can do something for other people. Because I feel like I can either heal people, I can cook for people, I can protect people, I can do public service for people by going into politics. This is why Moon Saturn becomes very strong related to politics, especially when Moon has lower degree, because this person is naturally inclined towards it because of their past life's experiences with this Saturn. They will naturally want to do those things. They will naturally be the one eating last in their family, especially when their mother and father will be like, okay, feed the kids first. I'll eat later. When it's the mother will be like, okay, let me just feed everybody. I'll eat later. Because mother will not feel comfortable with this conjunction until she has eaten last. Why? Because my own mother has this. My own mother has this conjunction. She's been the greatest teacher about this conjunction with me. She was an oil painter, an artist. My mom traveled for work for 20 years. Literally from 1995 to literally post my marriage and my kids being born, my mother was traveling and working. Now you see other conjunction. Moon is at 20 degrees. Saturn is at 15 degrees. So Moon is ahead of Saturn. Now what Saturn is saying that I'm going to make you execute your karmas. Here, I'm going to put you into the pit. Now Moon is thinking about something else because Moon is ahead of Saturn, right? So for example, this is Saturn, right? Let's say this is the Saturn rings. There's Saturn behind me. And let's say I am looking at Shukra. I'm looking at Venus. Money, wealth, sexual experiences, accessories, cosmetic. This is what I want to do. This is, I like this. I like this. And here's Saturn, right behind Moon. And Saturn's not pushing Moon forward. Saturn's saying, no, I'm going to make you give service to people. You can't just be this and this that you're thinking. I am forcing you to now work hard. I want you to stop this fantasy of Shukra, and I want you to execute your karmas, because remember, your Muladhara is fully open right now in this particular life. And if you want spiritual salvation, you do what as I say. And when they're forced, depending on the sign, they will accept it and they'll do it. But it will require some form of back and forth, tensions and depressions of the mind. And certain times, the person, you will meet those people. God, I wish I would have done this. I could have done this. But life put me here, and now I'm a security guard in front of this hospital building. Why? Because of the fact you didn't put yourself towards service. You were forced into service in front of a hospital. Again, medical. Why? Because I've had charts. Actually, just last month I did chart of somebody who's a security guard at hospital. Okay, they were in the sixth house, especially with Mars. And Moon had the higher degree. And after and below Moon was Saturn and Mars. Now, of course, yes, Saturn Mars Moon conjunction can definitely cause a lot of sometimes, issues of the mind, sudden anger, sudden change of personality. But that's a whole another discussion. But you will see this particular themes playing out. So what happens now? You must be thinking, right? Because I can see the comments that, okay, what if Moon is ahead, Saturn is in the back? How can I actually be happy with this? Let's go back to the beginning of this video when I said, whatever you want to do, let's say Jupiter is ahead of Moon. You want to go into finance and money and banking. Okay. You have even studied that. But Saturn is now forcing you to do the type of work where you're just not fulfilled. How can you make this entire conjunction, of this Moon and Saturn work is you start giving free service of that particular thing that you want to achieve. You want to be in investment banking. You want to be in that. You got your MBA, but you're not doing that. Well, you start writing articles. You start helping people, helping your friends and family that, hey, if you want any advice, let me know on investments and all that. And then, of course, I'm just saying, because, of course, in order for you to give investment advice, you should be good at investing yourself. But I'm just giving an example. Let's say, for example, Jupiter is ahead. Jupiter is ahead in Sagittarius and Purvashada Nakshatra. Next house to Moon, and Moon is with Saturn, and Moon is ahead of Saturn. You want to become a professor. You want to teach. Your dream is to teach at Harvard. Your dream is to teach at Princeton. And you're doing your education, you're doing your PhD, it's just not giving the success you want. Well, what is it that you're supposed to be doing then? Because Saturn's going to force you to do something that you're not going to like. Because that's his first duty of Saturn, is to help Moon execute the karmas, no matter where Moon is. Doesn't have to be conjunct. It is still, it's secreting that karma from the Moon. But when Saturn is in this position of the Moon, where Moon is ahead in degrees, you start teaching students and people for free first. You want to test your skills of being a Harvard professor, especially because Jupiter in Purvashada is priest and priestesses. What you should be doing, actually learning Vedas, Bible, Quran. And then once you have learned these things, start giving that for free. Say, hey, come to my house, or let's meet at some coffee shop or something. Let's discuss. I want to show you guys something about this passage in Bhagavad Gita. What does it mean? Let me show you how beautiful it is. You spend 2-3 hours Saturday hanging out with people teaching. You are a physicist. You're doing PhD in physics. You want to become that big professor. You say, I'm going to teach physics for free. I'm going to do it for free. This is where, and you will see, once you do it for free, suddenly something within the mind will start connecting. You'll be like, you know what? I'm enjoying this. I'm liking this. You're going to do it more. You're going to do it more. And before you know it, you may actually even lose that desire to be a Harvard professor. You'll be like, you know what? There's so many people who may not be able to afford someone like me. I am good. So they won't be able to afford someone like me unless they have a rich parent or they take huge debts to go to Harvard. Maybe, you know what? I should teach at a city college. I'll be much happier. And what happens through that execution of karmas, you're teaching at a city college physics, you write a book. You write some long book on philosophy, on the Vedas or on the Bible, and suddenly you publish it. It makes you big money. You sold 2 million copies of it. So now, because you did this one simple thing, you lost the desire of this one other illusionary thing, and yet you received your wealth. You received that achievement that you wanted to achieve. But when you don't, and then again, this is not for everybody. You got to understand. I'm only talking about Moon and Saturn. Sometimes people, they don't need to do any of these things. They'll achieve their goal. Like, for example, you have Sun Jupiter conjunction. Okay. Without any aspects or conjunction, without any, even let's say Saturn is involved, Saturn should be actually be involved. Jupiter Sun conjunction can create something known as Raj Lakshan Yoga. When especially it's both confirmed in the birth and Navamsha. It's not something that you become a king. It puts you in a regal status. When the time comes, you'll automatically be put into vice president position, CEO, CFO position. But when we're looking at Moon, the well, not soft planet, but this planet that is kind of like a sponge. It's kind of like a gooey clay. You can manipulate it in any way you want, and it may not like that. When you have a planet like that with Saturn, there's certain parameters you have to take in order to execute how your karmas are going in this life. Like even in marriage, okay, doesn't matter what role you have, whether it's a husband, whether it's a wife. When Moon and Saturn are together, you must look out for the need of the spouse first in order for you to find happiness. You will do that automatically if Moon has lower degree than Saturn. When Saturn is okay behind Moon, you may not want to do it. You'll be forced to listen to your spouse and get to their needs first before your needs are met. So then what do you do in that case? My God, I'm not receiving anything, and here my spouse always wants me to do this, wants me to do that. Now I have to do this. Now I have to fix this. Well, just ask the spouse by themselves without you being forced to say, "Hey, what do you need anything being done around the house? By the way, you have this issue, right? Do you want help from me with this? Because I can help you." Once you start taking control of that, you will see all the issues of your past, of your marriage will be gone, and marriage will become steady and smooth. But yes, it becomes very tough when, especially, let's say your spouse actually karmically is your enemy from past life, and no matter what you do, they're going to come after you. They're still going to taunt you, they're still going to criticize you. In that case, you have to remember what I say. The harsher that you're dealing with that, the more the karmas are being secreted. It's becoming empty down here in the Muladhara. So that energy can now go upwards. So the only way you can only feel happy in that case, because even then you will not feel happy, is if you do spiritual practices. Moon Saturn is a very important conjunction for spiritual practices. I remember Kapiel Raaj also said that when Moon and Saturn are together, especially in a Mars sign or being aspected by Mars, a person must go into spiritual focus. Otherwise, their entire life will be depressed. There's nothing verbatim that he said. I'm just, I might be mixing what he's trying to say, but um, it is one of those very strong positions for spiritual progress, because this is that dongle that activates your software. Right, back in the days we had dongles like in our editing software. I remember that's that dongle that says it's going to activate your spiritual thing. Take advantage of it. So this is why Moon Saturn is it's actually the biggest blessings if you can just put your thinking into the right pattern. And for example, Moon is ahead of Saturn, right? you'll be forced you'll be forced to travel for your work, even if you don't want to. You might have to do Uber driving. You might have to deliver things. You may have to go from one city to another because you're working for some insurance company. If, let's say, it's occurring in the 8th house. In Scorpio, you'll probably be working in insurance. But if moon is behind, you'll be naturally seeking work that is going to make you travel. So when this is ahead, you should be understanding the fact that, okay, let me actually, I know I don't want to travel. Let me just travel to some place, to this place, not vacation. I'm not talking about vacation because that'll definitely, not going to work with this conjunction. You go vacation, enjoy. But there's something else I'm trying to say here. You go somewhere far. Let's say, for example, some guru is coming. You email that particular organization, say, how can I volunteer? I want to volunteer for free. And you're sitting in New Delhi. The guru is in Mantrapalli in the south. You travel and you give yourself a volunteer. You will see how that will start changing your mindset where, I don't mind. I won't mind if I travel for work. So when you do travel for work, because you are already aligning with that Saturn, instead of up and down, you're aligning with that Saturn and you're just now going, it's going to be a far better, peaceful ride than before. Now, again, I told you, this does not mean you're going to find suddenly prosperity and money. No, you may just be making average money, even traveling. However, there'll be peace. That is what you want. If you can have absolute peace that every yogi talks about, or would you want this $1 billion? You want to be careful of what you ask for. Because here with this $1 billion, you cannot sleep because of the fact you're a billionaire. Somebody's after you after your life. Imagine being in that scenario, as certain billionaires are. Or you could be in this room size home out in wilderness and you're just in this ananda state. That's what this alignment needs to be of moon and Saturn. So don't go against it. Go with it. Okay. So even let's say when you talk about Saturn, right? Sade sati. Saturn goes over moon. Saturn goes over moon. First of all, what did I say about moon? One of the Karkavastas. It rules the 4th house of seat of power. Moon is the Karka of the 4th house. Moon is the seat of power of the queen, you can say. Saturn is karma. Saturn is going over moon. Saturn says, I'm karma. Forget career. Don't use the word career. Saturn is saying, I am karma, I am work. You are moon and you are the seat of power. This is one of your Karkavasta. In Sade Sati, I'm actually going to put you to work where your status rises. You will see with Sade Sati, many people find many promotions. And I saw that after much failure, that people are actually getting promotions, marriage, children, fame, when Saturn is actually going over moon. When moon is in great avastha, the personal will feel like that moon having that lower degree from Saturn that I explained. When moon is in a bad condition, you'll feel like I'm being forced into this and you will not like it. That means you're not going to work as hard. That means you're not going to find the recognition you should be deserving because of the fact you are not into that work. That's the only thing about Sade Sati. That's it. Because when Saturn is 45 degrees behind moon, That's when Sade Sati starts, right? And 45 degrees after it has passed into the second from the moon. That means understand that concept of Saturn behind moon pushing moon. He says, okay, enough of partying, enough of fooling around. It's time for you to work. And because you didn't want to, because you were in that mode, because usually sometimes Sardasati can come in your teen years and your 20 years. Eventually it's going to come. Sometimes it just comes at birth, so that means it may then come at when you're 30. You have to be able to execute those things in your life with giving free service. Whenever Sardasati starts, forget wearing any iron ring, forget putting oil in temple on Shani or on Shiva. You're creating more work for the priest. Simple thing is, when your Sardasati starts, when Saturn is exactly 45 degrees before your moon's degree in the birth chart, start giving free service. If you're an astrologer, definitely give one day out of the week to do free readings. If you're an accountant, give free account readings. If you're a lawyer, Saturn is a strong karka of law. Okay, Saturn's elder brother is Yama. Rules, regulations, policies, and law. So, of course, Saturn has learned wealth. This is why in Jaimini, Saturn in the fifth of your Karakamsha can take you into law. When you're a lawyer, you must do pro bono work. I know you are charging $700 an hour as a lawyer, but if your Sardasati is coming in and moon is not in that place that it should be, where you will not mind now working from 60 hours to 85 hours a week, well, start working. Start giving, say, every Saturday I'm going to help abused women who are homeless, and I'm going to give them legal advice, legal service. I'll even take some of the cases and I'll work in and I'll fight for this person. I don't care if I win or lose. You must do that. I'm sorry. You can take a whole truck full of mustard seed oil and pour it on the Shiva or pour it on the Shivling or on the Shani thing. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to change nothing. You're just missing the very simple element of moon and Saturn. So when it's Sardasati, everybody is going through Visha Yoga for 7.5 years in a way. Definitely for 2.5. So now you can easily steer through that. Give service without expecting anything in return. This is why it's called free service. It's very hard to do something without expecting anything in return when you're actually charging and getting something in return. You can't have that mindset simply that, okay, I'm just doing this because I love this. And yes, I'm getting paid $1,000 an hour by my client. I love being a lawyer. No. When the day your Sardasati starts and you get some case, it's fine. Your law firm's going to charge and they're going to pay you that. Donate that entire day. The day your Sardasati starts, donate that entire day of that income towards giving it as a free service. That's it. This is what the karma is. Now, what about those 12 different types of Visha Yoga? When Moon and Saturn are in one sign, okay, Moon is going to transit through 3 different nakshatras in a sign. For example, if it's in Leo, it's going to go through Magha, Purva Falguni, and Uttara Falguni. So it doesn't matter where Saturn is, Moon is going to be at any one of these spots in your birth. So there will cause different type of understanding of Visha Yoga. Then you have 7th from Moon. So when Moon is 7th from Saturn, this is also Visha Yoga. But now you can add 3 more, because then Moon could be, let's say Saturn is in Leo, Moon is in Aquarius. Well, then Moon would either be in Dhanishta, Satabhishak, Purva, Bhadrapada. Then if you could take trines from the Saturn, you can add 6 more. So there's different types of Visha Yoga that then you can go into much more detail on this. What is the karma that you're supposed to give in service? Because I'm just saying to give yourself in service with your work. But also, moon being in a certain nakshatra, certain places away ahead of Saturn, before Saturn, you'll have to do certain other things with that. But then this can become a 4 hour long video on that. But I know I'm gonna start this from tomorrow, like Moon, Saturn in the first house. So I'll always refer to this video on all the 12 signs, and then I will show what the houses are doing. Sometimes just with the house, you will understand without even nakshatras. Okay. So hopefully this has given some light, some basic understanding of this Visha Yoga. Okay. So we will see you guys tomorrow. It's literally midnight and I am falling asleep. My Visha Yoga is not becoming active. All right, guys. Tata, bye bye. Sayonara.